Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we have a really critical mission. We're trying to distill the most efficient, high-leverage strategies from a pretty big stack of research on mental health and, immediate wellness.
Right.
Our goal here isn't just theory. We want a shortcut to calm.
A practical one.
Exactly.
Hmm.
The practical nuts and bolts you need to manage stress and anxiety and to do it quickly. We want knowledge that really respects your time. Okay, so let's unpack this.
Well, that speed, that efficiency, that's exactly why this material is so valuable. We found a clear framework that's designed not for, mental health professionals, but for the person who is just perpetually busy.
For you, the listener.
Exactly, for
Okay.
you. It moves right past all those abstract concepts of well-being, and it just gives you a set of tools
Tools for what, exactly?
for self-discovery and inner peace that are, and this is key,
Hmm.
scalable and repeatable.
And the unifying principle we pulled from all of these sources is this idea of the gentle reboot.
I like that term.
Me too. Life, meetings, all these obligations, they all push you into these high-stress states. We aren't looking for some total system overhaul.
No, that's not realistic.
No, it's about small, decisive inputs that can give you, well, exponential results in finding calm in your daily life. It's about being effective, not just being busy.
Precisely. If we're looking for those high-leverage activities, we have to understand the minimum input that's required for the maximum return.
Return in what?
In emotional regulation and clarity. We really need to know why a 5-minute action can sometimes be just as important as, say, a full vacation.
So let's dive right into that. The first pillar, which is the foundational practice of presence or mindfulness.
Right.
Now, for so many people who are already pressed for time, this idea of mindfulness can feel like another obligation, another thing on the to-do list.
Yeah, that requires what? Hours of silence and stillness?
Exactly. So did the sources get into that psychological barrier of just slowing down?
They absolutely did. And the core insight is that mindfulness, at least as defined by these sources, is not about finding some silent mountaintop.
Okay.
It's fundamentally about cognitive efficiency. It is the practice of noticing your thoughts, your emotions, and your surroundings. But, and this is the key part, without judgment.
So it's not about emptying your mind.
Not at all. It's about retraining your mind to observe itself in real time.
I think that non-judgmental part is the real secret sauce here.
It is.
Because our brains, their default setting is just wired for critique, labeling everything a success or a failure, a threat or an opportunity. How does something as simple as breathing break that pattern?
Okay, so this is where we get to the technical nugget you really need.
Mm-hmm.
When you're stressed or you're worried about a deadline or just replaying a past conversation, your brain is likely operating in what's called the default mode network, the DMN.
Right, the DMN.
It's crucial for introspection and planning, but when it's overactive, it drives anxiety and, well, psychological time travel. The sources suggest that physical anchors, like your breath, immediately disrupt that DMN loop.
So mindfulness isn't fluffy. It's literally rerouting cognitive traffic away from the anxiety center.
That's it.
That makes immediate sense to someone who's outcome-oriented.
It does. And the sources didn't just say, take a deep breath. They gave specific high-impact protocols for maximizing that minute of presence.
Like what?
One technique that was emphasized again and again was rhythmic breathing, specifically a method that's a lot like the 4-7-8 technique, or some variation of it.
Okay, let's detail that. What exactly is the instruction?
It's designed to forcefully activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
Your body's rest and digest response.
Exactly. So you inhale deeply and slowly through your nose for a count of 4.
Okay, 4 seconds in.
Then you hold that breath for a count of 7.
Hold for 7.
And then you exhale completely, slowly, and often you can even do it audibly, through your mouth for a count of 8.
Inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. That deliberate, longer exhale has to be the key.
It is. It activates the vagus nerve, which signals the heart rate and the stress response to just calm down.
And this whole exercise, it takes less than a minute.
Less than a minute, and it's a profound intervention. That long hold and the even longer exhale are directly signaling to your nervous system, I am safe. This is the shortcut to calm we were talking about.
An immediate physiological change with minimal effort. But what about when that inevitable distraction hits? When you start planning dinner while you're counting to 4.
The sources are really clear on this. That is not failure.
Wow, that's good to hear.
That is the practice. The instruction is to just gently bring your attention back to the breath without criticizing yourself for wandering.
So if your mind wanders 100 times in 2 minutes.
You've had 100 moments of successful refocusing. The goal is that gentle, non-judgmental return.
It really removes the performance pressure from mental health. It makes the tool immediately more usable.
It does.
But this raises an important question. If the breath is the immediate surgical tool, how do we integrate that discipline into the constant chaos of the whole day?
And that's the perfect transition because the next strategy addresses exactly that. It's about containerizing calm through a formalized, gentle reboot routine.
So we're talking about intentionally scheduling the reset.
Yes.
What specific elements did the sources recommend for building out this daily ritual?
The emphasis was really on customization and something called habit stacking.
Okay.
So the routine is built of these small positive actions that you place strategically throughout the day to create an intentional break. The sources gave a whole flexible menu.
For example.
Maybe a morning stretch before you even check your email, a short guided meditation during your commute, journaling 3 thoughts after lunch, or just listening to calming music while you're doing a task that requires low mental effort.
That breath is so important. It acknowledges that if meditation feels inaccessible to you, maybe stretching is your entry point.
Right.
So the crucial takeaway seems to be about building that muscle memory for relaxation, making it automatic instead of a difficult choice.
It is. It's about creating cues. If your routine is established, when you hear that specific piece of calming music, your brain just starts to down-regulate the stress response automatically. The crux of it is that the routine should be anything that serves as an effective reset for you.
Okay, here's where the sources get into what feels like a counterintuitive but really effective piece of advice.
The structured break.
The structured break. For our audience who are driven, goal-oriented people, the idea of pausing when stress builds up can feel, well, inefficient. Did the sources address that?
We did, and they did it by emphasizing that stress is accumulative, and the cost of prevention is always, always lower than the cost of repair. They point out that stress significantly impacts your cognitive load and decision fatigue. So when we push ourselves too hard, we're flooding our systems with cortisol and adrenaline, which actively impairs complex decision-making.
So pushing through that final hour of work when you're already feeling overwhelmed isn't brave. It's actually inefficient.
It's inefficient. You're guaranteeing mistakes.
Right.
If you wait until you're completely overwhelmed, your break needs to be a day or even 2 days just to recover the mental ground you lost. So the sources stress that intervening early is the high-leverage move.
How early? What kind of pause are we talking about?
They found that even a deliberate 5-minute pause, a simple change of scenery, a glass of water, or quick return to that 4-7-8 breathing, it significantly improved subsequent focus.
Just 5 minutes.
5 minutes. It improved mood, and it preserved executive function.
It's the difference between preventative maintenance and a full engine replacement.
Exactly.
Taking that pause sustains performance. It doesn't derail it.
Crucial for sustained high performance.
Yeah.
You can't maximize your output without acknowledging the limits of the biological machine.
That leads us perfectly into the third critical strategy in the sources, which is self-care. And the phrasing they used was very specific and pretty powerful. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. In the context of the gentle reboot, why is making that distinction so foundational?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the infrastructure we were just talking about.
The biological machine.
Right. You can attempt all the deep breathing and structured routines you want, but if your biological and social foundation is crumbling, those tools are going to fail. You just can't expect your brain to perform complex regulation if it's running on a critically low battery.
You simply don't have the mental bandwidth or the emotional reserves for the subtle work of non-judgmental presence if you're chronically sleep-deprived.
Precisely. The sources broke down the essential elements of this infrastructure into 4 non-negotiables.
Okay, what are they?
First, quality nutrition. Eating nourishing food that sustains energy, not just spiking it. Second, rest and sleep hygiene.
So ensuring restorative rest, not just passive rest.
Exactly. Then there's intentional social connection with supportive people.
Intentional connection is key, isn't it? It's not just being around people, but actually engaging in meaningful exchanges that build resilience.
Absolutely. The research repeatedly highlights that resilience is a social phenomenon, not an isolated one. And finally, the sources advised engaging in activities that bring you genuine joy.
Things that make you feel good.
Yes, activities purely for their intrinsic value, without a productivity metric attached to them.
That's a really holistic view. It integrates the mental practice, the structured time, and the physical and social needs. It recognizes that inner peace requires all three systems to be stable.
And when any of those foundational pieces are missing, the subtle work of mindfulness, like gently bringing your attention back, becomes almost impossible.
Why is that?
Because you're constantly fighting the physiological urge to either panic or just shut down.
Right, okay. So now we move to the final piece, which is maybe the most important safety valve described in the source material. And that's knowing when the reboot requires external support.
Yes, the gentle reboot philosophy is one of profound self-awareness. And that self-awareness means knowing the limit of what self-help can actually provide.
Okay.
The sources stress that if the stress or anxiety moves past general overwhelm and becomes persistent or debilitating,
What does that mean in practical terms?
if it regularly interferes with your sleep, your work, or your relationships, it's time to seek professional support.
I think a lot of people view needing external support as a failure of their routine or their mindfulness practice.
Oh, for sure.
Like they should have been able to just power through it themselves.
And what's so fascinating here is that the sources treat the acknowledgement of needing help as the ultimate act of self-care.
So not a failure.
Not a failure at all. It's essential resource management.
Right.
It's recognizing that you've exhausted your internal tools and now you require a specialized skill set to recalibrate.
It's like using the proper tool for the job. You know, a wrench is great for maintenance, but if you have a broken axle, you call a mechanic.
Exactly. The gentle reboot strategies, mindfulness, routine, self-care, they are brilliant maintenance tools. But if the underlying operating system has experienced prolonged trauma or chronic overload, seeking professional help is the smartest, most high-leverage decision you can make for your long-term wellness.
It's about prioritizing the long-term health of the system.
It is.
So we've mapped the journey from the immediate intervention of presence and breathwork to the disciplined structure of the reboot routine.
The foundational infrastructure of self-care.
And the ultimate safety net of professional support.
Yeah.
So what does this entire framework mean for you, the listener, right now, moving forward?
The core message is one of incremental, non-judgmental commitment. The sources repeatedly stress that you don't have to overhaul your entire life today. The path to inner peace, it begins with the commitment to one simple, small step.
And just reaffirming that even tiny steps count.
Yes, that shifts the focus from anxiety about this huge transformation to the joy of daily improvement.
That's powerful. Choosing the lowest barrier to entry and then building momentum from there.
Yes. Start with the easiest element for you today. Perhaps it's just 2 minutes of that 4-7-8 breathing technique at your desk.
Or maybe it's setting an alarm for a 5-minute stretch and water break mid-afternoon.
Exactly. Or even just writing down one thing you are truly grateful for before you get into bed tonight, just to anchor you in positive reflection.
So the ultimate success of the gentle reboot isn't about achieving a zero-stress life.
Which is impossible.
Which is impossible. It's about achieving greater variability in your response to stress. It's about recovering faster.
And this final thought really ties it all together. Take this time to breathe, to reflect, and to prioritize your well-being. Commit to the gentle reboot. And practice self-compassion when you inevitably skip a day or get distracted.
That's self-compassion.
That non-judgmental return to the practice is perhaps the most high-leverage move of all.